Hey guys, Drake the Sports here, and I'm more pissed off than I have been this entire season. More than that Duke halftime game, more than anything else that would have possibly triggered me. Ian Book just being terrible in his first game of the season, anything like that. Notre Dame postpones their game against Wake Forest. After that USF game, during the week, that is the worst possible news you could have. I am not kidding. Okay, even if Ian Book goes down, that may be an exception or something. I don't know, an exciting, an amazing player that is pretty much builds our entire team. Even like 5 players getting injured or something like that. I don't really know what you could come up with. Anything could have been better than what the news was. Notre Dame, 13 I think it was 9 players test positive for COVID-19. 4 were in contact. That's a total of 13. Unlucky number. And yeah. They're going to be quarantining for at least 14 days. At least. And if I do my math correctly, that's 2 weeks. So those players have just lost 2 weeks of the college football season. That's amazing. And I'd have to assume some of those are starters. So that's just amazing for Notre Dame. And listen. No matter what fan of any team you are, no matter how much you hate a single team, you'd never wish any team to just skip out on a game due to players just getting sick from something. In this case, it's COVID-19 in this day and age. No one would ever wish anything upon a team like that. Because the thing, in any sport, this doesn't apply for college football, this is any sport. You want the best competition. That's why injuries suck. Because you want the best competition. You want every team, if in an ideal world, every sports game would have, and every sports season would have each team with all their starters full strength. That would be every single sports game ever. But the reality is that's not the case. Because injuries are a thing. Sickness is a thing. And, yeah, they all suck. So, what are you going to do? And the thing with Notre Dame is, the thing I don't think people are understanding here, is that those 13 players, and probably most of the Notre Dame staff, they're going to have to quarantine for 14 days. All those players are already. And people are like, oh, they'll be back next week. It's 14 days. That's 2 weeks of the college football season. And it'll probably be more for those players who tested positive just to be safe. So I don't know what people are thinking there. So those players will be out for 14 days. And this is the thing. It doesn't just affect Notre Dame. Okay? It affects their team, the team they're playing this week. Because they can't play. Because Wake Forest, they were supposed to play Notre Dame, but Notre Dame can't play this week. It also affects USF, the team we played last week and dominated, because because we just played them. So naturally, I'd assume there are a few players who tested positive, let alone players who were in contact, because they were touching Notre Dame players the entire game. I mean, that's just how football goes. And it also and so USF canceled their game, so that also affects the team USF is playing. So that's what people don't understand, is that it affects one team who has something like that, like Notre Dame did, that affects 3 other teams. So 2 teams, assuming they go to protocol, like USF did. Again, say another team has the same situation as Notre Dame. The team that played them last week will have to not play. the team that they were supposed to play this week can't play. And then the team that has all the players tested positive, they can't play, obviously. And then the team they were supposed to play can't play either. Because they don't have anyone to play because the team that tested positive can't play. So, I don't know. It's just, and I was just I was coming home for the weekend. I was super excited, and then this happens. I mean, what are you going to do? This is the worst possible thing that could happen, especially, I mean, in any situation, it's the worst possible thing, but especially because we just got our momentum. I mean, Ian Book was rolling. Chris Tyree, I mean, he looked like a god for the second week in a row, and we were just starting to find our footing. And in my opinion, we were going to go out and dominate Wake Forest just like Clemson did. And 13 players have to quarantine for 14 days. So, it's just so frustrating. Especially after we looked good. We dominated a team in a game. Brian Kelly said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. He was making it rain with points, and they were not giving up on defense. And then this news cracks. So this is, I just don't know. I can barely go without college football for a few days. I mean, it's impossible just to get through the week without not watching a Notre Dame football game. And now I have to do it for 2 weeks? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is unbelievable. And it's just the worst news that anyone could have. I did not expect to be making this video. And like I said, this is going to be a season unlike any other. I keep saying that, but, that just hit me hard. That surprised me, even though I should have expected it. And then one more thing I want to touch on. Wake Forest. So, Notre Dame and Wake Forest had open spots on the schedule for October 3rd. And, I was like, okay, they should just play then. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? No, the ACC decides, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna schedule it for December 12th. And you know fully well, Notre Dame is a contender for the ACC championship. I don't want to hear it, Miami fan. I don't want to hear it, Florida State fan. I don't want to hear it, any ACC fan. Besides Clemson, because they don't care. Because they're an amazing team. Why should they care about Notre Dame? But all of these other teams in the ACC, or fans, I guess, you know fully well Notre Dame is a contender for the ACC championship. God, the lighting's terrible out here. So, when they scheduled that game for December 12th, knowing fully well Notre Dame has a great shot of making the championship, let me ask you. So they said at the beginning of the season they were going to either have a championship game on December 12th or December 19th. And the Big Ten decides, oh, we're actually going to have a season because they couldn't make up their mind. They're too fiddle-footed. Search that word up. And they say, you know what, we're going to have a championship on December 19th. The day before the playoff makes their selections. And I can think why they would do that. So they'd be relevant. And the ACC, they scheduled that Notre Dame game for December 12th. Why do you think they did that? Because they expect Notre Dame to be in the championship game. And guess what day they'll play? December 19th. Because they got a game on December 12th. So, yeah. And another sucky thing about that is that Notre Dame won't have a bye week before the ACC championship game. So, I mean, just after we got our first win, Notre Dame, I'm going to be honest, things aren't looking so good. See ya.